finishes and factions catching action.
And hi, I'm Adam.
We are the newest UK-based wrestling podcast, Finishes and Factions.
In this podcast, we'll be discussing breaking down all of WWE's weekly episodes. That's Raw, SmackDown, and NXT.
And all pay-per-views for all brands in one weekly show.
So it's time to sit back, relax, and let's ring that bell.
So, with Monday night's Raw being the debut of WWE on Netflix, with the absolute phenomenal production quality there was, I am really intrigued to see how that carries on into future episodes. But it wasn't just the production quality that was phenomenal. Did you get a hold of that Roman Reigns match to start off with?
Yeah, fantastic fantastic first match. But before we even go on to that, it's that we've got the opening promo from Triple H giving the brief history of WWE on TV. We've also got the final boss, The Rock, giving his first promo on Netflix, and well, I mean, what a pop! It was always gonna be the case. But one other thing they mentioned at the beginning of Raw as well was that it was a record-breaking gate figure. They'd never had that much at the gate. So
the highest grossing show in history.
exactly, it only speaks to where they go from here. But yeah, that first match, Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns in tribal combat. Not a match type we hear about very often, but it's basic premise of it is it's a singles match where anything goes. It's a no DQ match basically, but based on the premise that there was only be one tribal chief.
I think my personally was Roman Reigns, but a few people like to side with Solo in that one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Solo, he he developed a bit of a reputation for treating his bloodline better than Roman did when he was tribal chief, and I mean the entire match circled around Heyman holding the Ulafala, the ceremonial neckwear of the tribal chief.
He plays that role so well, Paul Heyman.
100%.
The wise man could not be another manager in that group, I don't think.
No, definitely not. He's and I never thought I'd quite enjoy seeing Paul Heyman like squirm as much as he did.
Yeah,
like it's
he's
been
been a
said
filthy
before.
little rat for years, though.
It's the same. It's been said so many times before that Paul Heyman makes such a good heel because he is so effortlessly hated. He doesn't do anything over and above himself to make himself hated. He is just that much of a dick.
But he's so great with the way he does it, and the way he uses a microphone as well. It doesn't matter who he's working with. Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, CM Punk. They're all very talented superstars that, with his guidance, have been like phenomenal.
Oh, 100%. But yeah, I mean, diving down into the detail of the match itself, I mean, this was Roman Reigns' first singles match since WrestleMania, so it was
Been a while.
He'd got a fair amount of ring rust on him. He had to have done. Because of his health conditions and everything, he is not he is not the week in week out superstar that we've come to sort of rely on as a steadfast over the last few years. And normally, when you've got a champion in place, it's a case that they are there week in, week out, even if it's not constant title defenses.
Yeah, they're normally making TV appearances of some kind or being somewhere doing something on site.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I mean, I don't know about you, don't know how you sort of saw it, but for me, like Solo Sikoa was very dominant during that match. It was just he seemed to get incredibly distracted by the fact that you'd got Heyman with the Ulafala on the outside of the ring, and just yeah,
Big
was
match for him as well. Like it's probably one of the biggest he's had in WWE. So he's gonna have some nerves with it as well.
yeah. I mean, possibly. There was some fantastic spots throughout the match. I mean, he did really well considering he was the opener on Raw's debut on Netflix. It was always going to be a tough match. You either go out absolutely kill it, or you go out and
And he
botch it.
literally did.
So,
He did that, didn't he? And brought it into every rule applied. And that low blow he got in on Roman was quite funky. I enjoyed seeing a low blow in the first match. I mean, me personally, low blows are always worth a giggle.
yeah, not when you're receiving the low blow, of course, but
Of
yeah, and
course,
I mean, I think every rule that could have possibly been put into a singles competition was broken during it. I mean, we had so many run-ins, so many interferences. It started off with Tamatonga and Jacob Fatu for Solo, just absolutely taking it to Roman.
I
But
really want to see what they do with Jacob Fatu. There's something about him that I really want to see more of. So
he is
be interesting to see where they go.
he does
Samoan
seem to carry
werewolf.
himself. Does seem to carry himself with a hell of a lot of charisma. He doesn't
Hmm.
have to say a lot, but you know he's there when he's there. So yeah, 100%. I mean,
Yeah,
um, Reigns had his own fair share of run-ins as well. It was a case that you got Sami Zayn and Jimmy Uso coming out to even out the odds at one point. Um,
oh, I think Zayn's still trying to prove himself to Roman in a way that he deserves to be part of that bloodline still. So I think we knew we were going to see him at some point in that match helping Roman out.
I don't think they're ever going to be able to remove Zayn from the bloodline story as it stands, and quite honestly, I don't think they should. I don't know what it is he adds, but there is a definite.
He's this generation's R-Truth, I think. He's got a
Not in
comedy
the same
factor, but
way.
he still can wrestle to a decent degree in ring. He's not just a joke they give a microphone to, like Enzo Amore was.
I mean, yeah. But, um, and we also had runouts from Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, just really plugging away at the story. Really plugging away at the story.
Selling it so well.
Oh, 100%. They again, production value they got out of it. They have tied so many different stories, even within that first match, just so intricately wound within one another, but nothing didn't make sense.
Hmm.
Nothing was there that didn't need to be there. And of course, Roman Reigns walks out with the win, becoming the one true tribal chief, and was presented the Ulafala by the final boss himself.
I think they could have had a perfect opportunity for a final boss heel turn then to set
Do you
something up between Roman and Rock
Do you
going
know
into Mania.
one of the things that is good about being able to record this after it happens is that you're not the only person that thinks that. I did see an article, I forget where it was in, but I did see an article earlier today where Rikishi, the
Oh, Sports Skeeter.
the thong wearing fatty himself, was had said exactly the same thing, that he thinks they missed an opportunity for a Rock heel turn, and
They could have made some serious money there. And obviously, he's got his Ula Fowler back, but he's not really got much of a story left to play at this point. There's no obvious direction of where he's going to go. So it could have
okay,
lined something up for him quite tasty, to be fair. Like a handing of passage, I suppose, from Rock to Roman.
yeah, 100%. But yeah, I mean, definitely, definitely. So, there's still mileage on it. They will still get mileage out of new bloodline versus old bloodline and things like that. It's coming. We know it's
They've been
coming,
milking the New Day for a decade almost. So.
and they're still getting mileage out of that. Realistically, it's. But yeah, after that first absolute stormer of a match, I mean, fantastic way to open Raw. We had the beginning of the John Cena farewell tour with a promo from the man himself.
Admit, the goosebumps were had and a tear or two may have rolled down, but I'm a man. I can admit these things.
Yeah,
It
of
was
course.
I think I was 9 years of age when John Cena burst into WWE. So for him to be doing his thing now is pretty nuts. But it's nice to
Definitely.
see that he's getting a year. He's given it everything he's got, and he's not just going to do I'm going to show up to a couple of pay-per-views and disappear afterwards, and not really have much of an effort involved in it.
I mean, he started off this promo being quite subdued. He was like, "Oh, there's no chance of a title run. There's no chance of this, that, and the other." And then all of a sudden, it was almost as if a light went off in the back of his head. And yeah, I mean, my biggest takeaway from that promo was Cena announcing himself in the Rumble.
Yeah, the multitude of options they have with that as well is crazy, and I couldn't even start to name a few of them. I mean, does Cena win the Rumble? Does he come in at number one and go all the way through? Try and pull another record at the same time? Or do they pull him in the last 10, let him sneak it off, and hope he doesn't try and mess it up like he did with Batista a few years ago?
Oh, are we talking about the day that Vince blew out both his quads? What a day that was! What a day in professional wrestling that was. Sat in there like a giant toddler.
Did not look happy, bless him, did he? I must admit, if I'd have torn both my quads jumping into a ring, I think I'd look pretty pissed too. Definitely.
I mean, he admits in interviews afterwards that it wasn't necessarily he wasn't pissed about the fact that he'd blown out both his quads. He was more pissed at the fact that the ending of that Rumble match was fumbled. But yeah,
Sometimes it's professional wrestling, right? It's not always perfect.
it's anything to do with a live performance, really. But yeah, we went out of the Cena promo and into the second match of the night, which was
Liv Morgan and
Liv.
Rhea Ripley, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship match, and yeah, I mean, I think I didn't really have a favorite to win this. It was almost because they've played this story so well. It was almost a little bit too close to call, especially as you've got Liv Morgan coming out with uh, Dirty Dominic Mysterio and Raquel Rodriguez.
Yep.
There was obvious it was always going to end in some kind of interference from the outside, and Rhea Ripley came out completely on her own. One of the things I don't think a lot of people may or may not have picked up on was the fact that Rhea Ripley still can't help but sing her own entrance theme as she's going through.
Yeah, but
Did
it's
you
a
pick up
great
on that?
entry theme. It's
Oh,
a great entry
100%.
theme. It's motionless and white. She's
100%.
got every right to be able to do so.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she did a WrestleMania entry with
With
the
motionless
band
and
out.
white, didn't she? Yeah.
Yeah,
Phenomenal
they played her
entrance.
out. But yeah, I love the fact that even on a weekly episodic show, she's there. You can see her mouthing the words along. It was a little detail that just made me smile during that match. I'm not going to lie, but
It shows that she enjoys what she does. Like, I think she knows that she's lucky to be in a position to do that sort of thing. And to enjoy it while they're there is a bonus.
oh,
And she obviously
definitely,
does enjoy it, and you can tell in her performances when she's in the ring.
yeah. I mean, absolute dominant performances normally. I mean, me and you have had conversations a lot of off camera about some of the pinning positions Mummy can find herself in, and things like that. I mean, no hate to no hate to us. We're male after all.
Yeah. But then she gets her own back. She again copped a brilliant low blow on Dirty Dom at the end of that. That
Oh,
was, huh. Did he not deserve that kick in the bollocks?
I mean, he
Like,
deserved so many more. Like
Yeah.
you could have gone back and repeated that several times, and it probably wouldn't have been enough. Especially as he put himself in that position by as soon as Ripley had won the match, won the championship. He was there trying to beg back into her good graces. He's a creep. Is what he absolute creep.
Not quite as creepy as Vince, but he's getting there.
I mean, yeah, but one of the detail I picked up on, I don't know if you will have done or won't have done. A lot of animosity building between Dom and Pat McAfee. I'm got
Yeah.
a odd feeling they're gonna have an attraction match between McAfee and Dirty Dom at WrestleMania. I'm calling it now.
He's
That's
done
my.
WrestleMania before, though, hasn't he?
He's normally done something with it. I can't recall if he's ever actually wrestled a match at WrestleMania, but I've got a feeling they're going to work a singles like it'll be
Good
it'll be
angle.
a
It's not one
McAfee
I'd seen coming.
it'll be a McAfee squash match. Like as in McAfee will get the because he's a beloved celebrity. Obviously, does a lot to do with football and all that stuff.
Yeah, a
And
lot of college football stuff, and donates a lot of money to college football funds and scholarships and stuff.
yeah, and I just think that's how they're gonna that if they do work that angle and it goes to a match at Mania, it'll be something similar to the Jerry Lawler and Michael Cole angle they worked a few years ago, where Michael Cole basically shut himself in a perspex box and wrestled some matches with Jerry Lawler.
Yeah,
But yeah, the end of that match with Dom trying to reconcile with Rhea, only to be met with not just a nut shot but a riptide as well, is yeah phenomenal.
the icing
Absolutely
on the
phenomenal.
cake, I think that was the nut shot followed by the riptide. She may as well have just lit the candles and served him a slice. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, to be fair,
Um,
she will over the next few weeks. I think.
oh, definitely.
Be
No
interesting
doubt
to see
about
if
it.
they have a mixed tag match between Rhea and Damian Priest and Liv and Dom.
I think they've done that in the past, and I'm not sure that they will sort of go over old ground with that. They might do. It depends how much they play out the angle because
Again,
that angle isn't done, is it? Let's face it. I mean, in the ring trying to reconcile, it's all going to break down with Judgment Day, um, and yeah, it's
it's a ticking time
what
bomb waiting to explode.
what more can you say? What more can you say? I mean, coming out of that match, we went into a promo with the Miz and I
Yep.
believe it was Karrion Cross. I'm not, but that's working an angle with where the Miz seems to be indebted to the Final Testament, and who are currently feuding with the Wyatt Six. Didn't see anything from the Wyatt Six specifically during Raw, but
Don't
maybe
think they
something
made an
to look
appearance
forward
at
to
all.
next week.
I'm hoping
Maybe
they
something to look
see
forward
them
to next
soon.
week. Um, and yeah, I mean, we went from that promo. There was probably some bits I've missed out in between, but
Then we went
next
to,
thing
it was basically with Travis Scott smoking that doobie with Jey Uso on their way in, wasn't it?
it was the Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre match, the third match of the night. And yeah, I mean, biggest news story to come out of that was Triple H in a press conference after Raw say praising Jey Uso for just saying no.
I mean, WWE have a wellness policy. So,
Yeah,
you can't really turn around and be like, well, I didn't do anything when you're walking into your match puffing a big one on TV in front of millions of people.
100%. The other thing that I did see something about, and generally, if I see something, I'll send it to you because, yeah, I
Just the
don't
way it
like
works, to be fair.
100%. The obviously the big thing about Jey Uso on his entries is the entire crowd, including staff, are all there, fucking yeeting with him, and it's phenomenal to watch.
Yeah.
And the big thing that I saw was that so obviously Apple Watches or fitness trackers have something in there to track your heart rate and things like that.
Yep.
Michael Cole yeeted so hard that his smartwatch actually thought that he'd fell down and had a heart attack. And in fairness,
Fair play to the guy.
he couldn't have looked more like an old white dad on the dance floor at a wedding doing that yeeting. It didn't look natural at all. But bless him, he was having the time of his life.
As long as he was happy, that's the main thing, right? Yeah, no. To be able to yeet that hard at that age, to be able to cause your watch to think you've had a heart attack is incredible.
I mean, Michael Cole's career has been. He started off as an interviewer. He was a backstage interviewer because he got ripped somewhat chronic by pretty much every wrestler that came through the WWE that did a promo.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
useful for some things, I suppose.
well, yeah. And I mean, he made his way to the commentator's desk and was color commentator for years, and then went to play by play. And in fairness, he's not my favorite commentator ever. That
No.
that spot will always belong to good old JR.
Yep.
And but I can't knock him for what he's done. He does play a fantastic role in some of the stories that he's been a part of over the years.
And he's always willing to get down and do something stupid. Like, he is not afraid to get involved in the shenanigans as well, which I think makes him, a good member of that team to have.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, third match, Jey Uso, Drew McIntyre.
It was a good
What were your
match.
thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good technical match. I wouldn't have said there was many overly big highlights to it. It was probably one of the weaker matches on the card
Yeah.
for the pay per view or for the event. I think Drew is probably unlucky to lose the match because for most of it he was generally ahead. I had more near pinfalls. Struggled to pull off his finisher a few times, but you've got to get him in the right place to be able to hit a claymore. But you know, I think with the matches, and I said it was the weakest one on the card, and for me it was the weakest because of the ending. Roll up finishes for me always kill a match, no matter how good the match is. A roll up finish always kills it. Either pin them straight, submit them, or DQ it and go again in a couple of weeks' time. I think a roll up's a bit of a cop out, but that's me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, roll up pins are a no go for me. If you get to an end of and use a roll up pin, I think that's just lazy. There are other ways. You can use it better ways to tell the story, I think.
So it's worth pointing out at this point that neither me nor Rich are in any way, shape, or form professional wrestlers. I mean, I'm pretty sure we'd kill each other, not from the moves we tried to perform if we wrestled one another, but more so for the fact
Health
that
and safety.
we just do not have the stamina for it, quite frankly.
I'm a professional fat bastard. That is about it.
Yeah, pretty much. He really is. Um, but yeah, I do sort of see what you're saying about roll up pins. They can, in my opinion, they don't kill a match as such. If they're used correctly, it can be really beneficial to a story. You look at it on paper. Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. For me, Drew McIntyre wins that in a straight fight all day long.
Oh, yeah,
Because
cool.
the guy's a brute, and I mean, at the minute, his storyline, he's a bit off the reservation with it. He's on a bit of a bloodline crusade, and it's
He's on the path of blood.
100%. And I mean, Jey Uso throughout the entire match was doing what he could to try and keep Drew off balance. Started the match with an over the top rope dive to again keep him off balance, because the minute that Drew gets control, it's over
Game
for
over.
Jey Uso.
Oh yeah, you have to use your high flying abilities to stay away from him as well, or go at him from range.
But as I was saying about roll up victories, I mean the this particular roll up victory will help feed into Drew McIntyre's storyline a little bit more. It's not there to make it it's Jey Uso putting Drew over for his storyline, in my opinion. That's how that one works pretty much.
Which is strange because you'd look at it more as Drew's the former champion. He would be the bigger superstar putting over Jay, but it's not quite gone that way.
Yeah, it I'd see where you go, but yeah, I think there's. I said right at the beginning about Raw, there was nothing that didn't need to be there, and that for me made sense to be there from a storyline perspective. Um, but yeah, obviously Jey Uso picked up the victory over Drew McIntyre. I don't think we'll fully agree on whether that was the right way to go
Deserved or
about it
not.
or not, but
Yeah.
is as it is. We went from that into into a string of promos, because we started off with the New Day and Gabriel Iglesias
Fluffy.
promo. I mean, it was a mindless self promotion for Gabriel Iglesias' new Netflix special. I mean, I've sat and watched it, thought it was. I mean, me and you are a big Fluffy fan,
I
realistically.
have, definitely enjoyed a lot of Fluffy's previous content. I'm yet to watch this new Netflix special, but I have been told it is half decent. So when I get an opportunity to sit and watch it, you bet your ass I'm going to.
Oh, 100%. And I would recommend it. But this one, again, it's still feeding into a storyline, even if it is self promotion for Fluffy. I mean, New Day are on a heel turn at the minute, and there was a big thing where a a few people at home have noticed that Kofi Kingston is wearing a particular pendant around his neck. Um, this might make more sense to me than you, but it was very similar to the Majin curse from Dragon Ball Z. Um, yeah, I can see from the look on your face,
Yeah,
I've lost you just now.
I've gone.
But yeah, if you're an anime fan, you'll get the reference. If you're not, like my man Rich, it will go completely over your head. So yeah, I'm
You're
not going to
bold
spend
like
too
me,
long
it
talking
skims even faster.
about that. No friction, mate. No friction.
Freshly lubed.
But again, string of promos. We went straight into a Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest promo where, yeah, we got Rhea taking some jabs at Liv Morgan, carrying on the storyline.
Yep.
Damian Priest putting
He's
teasing
putting a
his match.
teaser out. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's got
street
Finn
fight,
Balor on the 14th for that street fight, yeah.
100% street fight on with Finn Balor on uh, next week's Raw, which
Forward to
should
that.
be. Oh, 100%.
Great
I've
match.
never been a huge Damian Priest fan. Again, I'm not sure why, but it's something about him that's just I've never felt that he just I've never felt personally I've never felt the push with him. There's a
He
lot of
walks
times I can
around
get
like
behind a
Diesel, it's
storyline.
funny.
Yeah,
He's
I
got
mean
that
he's built
strut.
like him, but yeah, I'm a huge Finn Balor fan. Have
Definitely
been.
wanting Finn Balor to win myself on that one.
Yeah, most definitely. Um, and then the most
Ah,
controversial promo of the night.
the most ruthless, selfless promo of the night as well.
We
The
had
well,
we had
brother,
Hulk Hogan. We had the original brother himself, Hulk Hogan, coming out and trying to promote his real American beer.
yeah, I'm not
While
gonna lie. I saw a clip of Rey Mysterio drinking it, and Rey's face was like, "Yeah, this is all right." In his eyes, he was like, "Nah, not feeling this."
Well,
Uh,
let's face. I mean, he came out and was just consistently booed by every single man, woman, child, and animal in that arena. It just it fell flat
he
pretty
deserves it,
much.
to be fair. I mean, yes, the guy's given a lot of time to professional wrestling over the years. You know, some great matches at
40 years.
WrestleMania. Yeah, I mean, a long time, you know, longer than I've been alive. But I think he's one of those that needs to leave professional wrestling in his past and go and retire, lie on a beach. He keeps coming back, and no one wants him there, I don't think, anymore.
I think he's hit the point of irrelevancy now. Is that
Yeah,
we all know him. Even new wrestling fans will know who Hulk Hogan is. But it's a case of
I don't
he's
think
got to
many of us are
learn.
Hulkamaniacs anymore.
He's got to learn that, or WWE have got to learn, potentially a little bit of both. That there is truth to the saying of flogging a dead horse.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I think that Hulk Hogan is that dead horse. He's there's too much history, too much history.
And he's said some stuff over the years that you can't really atone for these days.
No,
He's
definitely not.
put his very large foot in his very large mouth, and now he's made that bed. He's gonna have to lie in it.
Yeah, and not even the Pythons are going to save him from that realistically. But
And they're
who
not even
knows?
24 inches anymore. He looked frail. Like
Compared to how he used to look, yes. I mean, I
you can
don't think
tell
he's
he's an
ill.
old man these days. I wouldn't say
Oh
ill,
yeah,
but definitely old. Like you
yeah.
look at him and you can see old man. Like yeah,
Time
and
has
he
not been his
really
friend.
struggled to rip that shirt off, no matter how hot. Yeah, I didn't think he was going to do it to start off with,
No, no,
but
and I wouldn't be surprised if that was a. So back in his heyday, I can fully believe that he was ripping like genuine, like even
real
like
t-shirts.
he could have ripped this fucking shirt off. He could have ripped this shirt off me back in his heyday. I'd have wondered what the fuck he was doing if he was, but yeah, it's a case that now I think that
Didn't even make me breakfast first.
there's a default like a
Oh,
defect
they've
in the
been
stitching, and
yeah,
yeah,
they've been adapted. So when he pulls them, they pull across. But even then, he looked like he was going to struggle with that.
yeah, this is it. And then we get to the main event match.
But you're missing one of the most important things. That Penta tease
Oh,
against Chad Gable for Monday Night Raw. Obviously, they've been looking for a partner for Penta, and a lot of rumors have been saying that he was going to go with Rey Mysterio. But apparently, there might be a singles push in the run, and he's got a match against Chad Gable on Monday Night Raw next week.
so he was one notable absence from the Netflix premiere was Penta, and we all thought. I think everybody thought he was making his appearance there and then on that night, and
Yeah.
both me and you after watching it had said, "Where the hell is Penta? Like he's not there. He wasn't there when we thought he was gonna be there."
No, but then it could just be a case of, he hasn't sorted out some paperwork or had some medical stuff done at that time to be there for Raw. But then
Either
would they have had the time really to debut him properly?
well,
It
this
was
is it.
quite a
Is that
packed show, so to throw an extra segment in there with a debut of another wrestler that's new to the business, that
yeah,
if he doesn't live up to the expectation as well, like you debut this guy on Monday Night Raw's Netflix debut and he flops, that's a big ask. It's a big question to ask. I'm not saying Penta would flop, but it is one of those what wrestlers doing other promotions doesn't always happen when they come to WWE and vice versa.
yeah. I mean, you can't catch lightning in a bottle, and sometimes that it just doesn't translate well over into other promotions, and it's nobody's fault. It's just you you get to that point of are they just trying to just do what the other guys did before and things
Right?
like that.
Yeah. But no, that main event. Oh,
Yeah, main event:
that
CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins.
promos and the build up to this fight were absolute magical. Like
100%.
the build up to this event was insane. I loved it, and the fact they've got real life beef as well just made it
Yeah.
even more believable. The fact they do actually hate each other's guts. So, what I say, hate each other's guts. Like they worked together. Obviously, when CM Punk was there originally, before he took his title and he threw it in the fridge, and after that wonderful pay per view. But that was
Yeah,
a cool match.
I, I would
It's
argue, I would argue that Seth Rollins hates CM Punk. He's gone on record a number of times and said that. I don't think CM Punk really gives a shit. I will be honest. It's just not.
it's just that is it's arrogance, isn't it? That's CM Punk all over, I suppose. Yeah, I really don't think it's
Mm,
water off a duck's back. I
yeah,
suppose the
this
amount
is
of
it.
people that hate the guy. I mean, he's a brilliant heel. Like he's a natural heel.
Yeah.
He's also a very good face, but he's a natural heel because people just love to hate the guy because he's got this
Oh
smirk little one-liners. And I mean,
well.
Christ, you go back through the last 6 months of television shows before he left the first time round and just look at all the little quips and the little one-liners and the pipe bombs, and that guy is good with his mouth. So he can definitely turn a crowd one way or another. Even just yeah, it's brilliant, pure natural.
Yeah. I mean, it comes back to the fact he's a Paul Heyman guy. It's what we
I
were
was
saying
just
earlier on.
about to bring that up. He is a Heyman guy.
You can't. There isn't a Paul Hey. There isn't somebody who's come out as a Paul Heyman guy that can't be that has failed at being a heel, or has not been able to cut a freaking promo. And
Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, great heel. His ability to cut a promo. I have seen Staffordshire Bull Terriers do better abilities in the garden.
credit given
Verbally,
where
he's
credit's
not
due.
great on the mic.
Credit given where credit's due. His last run in WWE. I mean, I don't think he's currently under contract. I will be
He's not,
honest,
no.
but he's his last run. He was doing it without Heyman because Heyman was involved in the Bloodline story,
Mm-hmm.
and he he showed some improvement on his ability to cut. He's not gonna. He's never gonna be sort of Enzo Amore, John Cena. Or he's never gonna be up there with that level of being able to
But
cut a
he's
promo.
been doing this a long time. He should be able to cut a decent promo.
But he started in the Vince era where he was a Vince McMahon guy. Brock Lesnar was Vince McMahon's wet dream essentially as far as a wrestler goes. He wasn't there to he was there because Vince McMahon
You do.
used to forgive a lot if you had the right physique, if you looked like an absolute beast. And I mean, Brock Lesnar is the beast.
He, he isn't, yeah. I mean, built like one as well.
Yeah.
I think the
I
biggest
mean,
I ever saw him was when he was in the UFC. And you looked at that guy then and were like, "Oh, I'm not pissing on his cornflakes in the morning." Mm-mm.
no, no, definitely not. Um, but yeah, Brock Lesnar aside, it's a
We digress.
WWE night. I mean, they 100% made the most of their minutes. They maximized the space they worked in. I mean, action was spilling into the arena. They were fighting in the crowd. Um,
Non-stop from start to finish.
yeah. Um, I mean, I think there's definitely some injury time on the way up for Rollins. He seemed to really struggle with his knee. I think he's due to be signed out soon. And
Yeah,
I mean,
get a
he
bit of
was
surgery and some rehab and get himself ready and to go sort of SummerSlam sort of time.
yeah, I think so. But one of the things that I picked up on afterwards, so CM Punk wins the match. One point during the towards the end of that match, Rollins sustains a very visible injury.
Mm.
Uh, and even CM Punk, you see in the way that he behaves, it was sort of pointed out afterwards. I never really cottoned onto it. Is that CM
You know,
Punk was genuinely concerned for Rollins' well-being.
you see him grab the ref after he's pinned him, and yeah, kind of like just make sure he's okay. Is he okay? You see him grabbing the ref's face, like up in here, like go and check on him, and you see the ref run straight to Seth, hands down the side of his neck, like you good. But yeah, he was in the ring for a long time after that match. He did not get up and
100%.
move off like a lot of the other guys do. He was feeling that.
No,
And
so
then,
it was either a really good sell or it was a genuine oh shit moment. So,
yeah, but
but
not quite bad enough to throw X's up at the end of the
no,
show. It was just kind of like we'll let the crowd dissipate. And we'll kind of see what happens. Send some
yeah,
superstars out and get some signatures out, and we'll get him back here and assess the damage.
this is it. But absolutely phenomenal main event. Can't fault it.
Finished with a
Um,
double go to sleep, which I have seen he has used elsewhere as a finisher, and ironically against one of Seth Rollins' former teammates.
yeah,
Yep, double
yeah,
GTS on John Moxley in AEW when he was out there before he got in trouble. But yeah, so that was a fun one, and it's nice to see people moving out of the ring and using the arena as well. Like you said, these guys were everywhere.
yeah.
You know,
They,
Rollins tried to pop pedigrees on announce tables. They were swapping pedigrees, swapping all sorts of finishing moves at one point. So yeah, it was a good laugh. They looked like they were having fun doing it as well, and you can see that they were enjoying the match that they were having because of the quality of the match.
yeah, I mean definitely. But yeah, I mean that was the closing moments of Raw's first Netflix episode, and
Phenomenal episode as
yeah,
well.
I mean lots of people were like, "This is WrestleMania quality sort of matches. This is what we would expect to see at the
Top four
greatest
pay per
event of the
views.
year."
Mm.
Um, I mean, my only concern is can they keep up the momentum? Is it like WrestleMania is now 2 nights a year, and there are some matches even within WrestleMania that you think, oh, probably not. Um,
I mean, there's a lot of
but
titles
this
now
is
as well. So if with things like WrestleMania, if you're defending all those titles, there's a lot. They can't be very long, so you need to be able to make sure that the production on them is decent, but you can't blow your budget too far.
no, this is it. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I am genuinely looking forward to next week's Raw, just to see the match quality.
And if that was what we're now going to get on a weekly, oh, I can't wait until WrestleMania.
Oh, 100%. They've
100%.
raised the bar. They've raised the bar. It's as simple as that.
Considerably. Yeah.
It's 100%. But yeah, I think we. I don't know about you. I'm all out of raw talk. Let's move on.
Yeah, definitely. We have moved on to NXT's New Year's Evil, and this was NXT's debut on Netflix as well.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly for myself, this was like my very first experience of consuming NXT content, and
Yeah, for me,
so
it's been a long time.
so it just I felt like a phenomenal disconnect with the content only because I don't know who any of them are.
Right?
I
A lot
don't
of
know.
them were
I don't.
names I hadn't heard of, and there was
Yeah,
a lot of title matches at this pay per view. I didn't know the storylines building up to them. Didn't have time to be able to go back and watch multiple previous episodes of NXT. You don't know where each storyline's starting and finishing to be able to catch the pieces together. So for me,
I'll
I got
admit.
very blindsided by a lot of names and a lot of people here, but I know where to start going into next week.
Yeah, it's a base to build on, and this
Yeah,
is what I was telling myself throughout watching it. Really, so we'll get sort of straight into it. I mean, the opening match for NXT this week was the Roxanne Perez Julia match. I mean,
very much.
phenomenal match. Loved it. Loved the match. technically the wrestling in the match was fantastic. There was a couple of areas where there was a bit of a disconnect for me, where some of the moves were a little bit, they were
It
too
didn't
try
flow.
hard to be believable.
Yeah, some of the moves, especially from Roxanne Perez, just didn't flow quite as well as you'd expect them to. But as we said earlier, neither of us have any ability when it comes to professional wrestling. I just know as a fan that yeah, it was hard to watch some aspects of that match, but in general, it was actually a really good sort of fast-paced, energetic, high-flowing match.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a little bit about Roxanne Perez because she has made some appearances in like the main roster matches, and
Yeah,
she's made some appearances at PLEs. I know that she's got quite a high flying style, and being a student of Booker T,
yeah,
we knew that she was going to be technically there. It was,
yeah, oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
mean,
Booker T was very technically gifted as well. So if he's passing that gift around and down, then you know some of these upcoming superstars are going to have some phenomenal technical abilities.
and I mean, if they hadn't mentioned the fact that Roxanne Perez was Booker T's student, he definitely didn't make any big friggin' secret of it. He was a huge advocate for her on that night, and it seemed to shut him up when she eventually lost the match
A difficult
to
thing to do.
Julia.
To shut Booker T up is a difficult thing to do. You dig it,
One hundred
sucker.
percent, 100%. I mean, first match, title match, nonetheless. And yeah, I mean, there was one bit of interference from Cora Jade, but
It was
it was
mental.
next to nothing. It was minimal. She was there pushing Perez back in the ring to beat the count, and yeah, not a
Yeah.
not. There was a bit of a
Unlike
disconnect there for me.
Raw, there was some stuff in NXT that didn't necessarily need to be there.
Yeah, and I'll pick up
That
on Mike on
interference, I think, was one of those parts.
yeah, definitely. That match could have gotten on exactly the same way without the interference from Cora Jade. In my opinion, Roxanne
Oh yeah,
Perez could have gotten herself back into the ring believably to beat the count. And yeah, but
even if she'd have
Julia
pushed
King,
it up to sort of like 8 or 9 on the count, she'd have got there eventually.
yeah, exactly. But new NXT Women's Champion for the new era in WWE. Yeah, congratulations to Julia. A phenomenally wrestled match. Can't say anything about it.
I
We
enjoy,
went,
going to enjoy looking to see where that storyline goes and follow Julia through her next feud as well, just to see
yeah,
how well she can defend that and how often
yeah,
she defends it too.
100%. I mean, it can create, it can devalue a championship, in my opinion, if you're going to sort of part-time defend it. If it's not going to be, I'm not saying you have to defend it each and every week you go out there, but make sure it's regularly defended, make sure it's regularly
At
put
least
on.
at every pay per view or every other pay per view, try and defend that title. Don't come back for just the Bane 4. If you can get a fun title defense in at TLC or some of the other smaller pay per views, then yeah, definitely get a crack in with it.
100%. But we went out of that opening match and into a promo with NXT's GM Ava and
Eddie
Eddie
Thorpe,
Thorpe. Yeah, he was. He looked like he'd been attacked on the stairs there a little bit, and I got the
yeah,
impression, again, having
not
no
seen it
NXT
before.
experience at all. It sounds like this is something that he's done before, and yeah, it was a bit of a precursor to the main event, which obviously we'll come on to. But um,
It was
then,
definitely you could see where they were trying to lead to with different aspects of that promo. So I
yeah,
don't know,
most
it
definitely.
it worked some
Uh,
ways, I suppose.
Second match going in was the women's fatal four way, number one contenders match for the women's North American Championship.
Yes,
One thing I noticed about this NXT card is that it's sort of bucking the tradition of wrestling years gone by. Is that they did a very female centric card. There were a lot of women's matches in
it
on this
was.
card, which I'm not complaining about because the women were doing an absolutely fantastic job. technically wrestling these matches.
They're
So
fantastic job, but it just shows that that there's such a high quality of female wrestler coming through that you can't hold them back. So if they've got the women to make these matches and fill these rosters up, then they're going to do it, and they've done it, and they've done it well.
yeah, definitely. I mean, my biggest takeaway from this match, sort of just not glossing over it as such, but sort of just summing it up, is that it could have worked so much better as a triple threat.
Yeah,
I mean, we had Stephanie Baker, Lola Vice, Cora Jade, and Kalani Jordan. Um, Now, again, having no prior knowledge of any of these apart from Cora Jade's interference in the match previous, it was kind of a case that, in my opinion, sort of Lola Vice was a little bit irrelevant. She was
okay.
there as a bit of filler, and she was there for a payday, and it just didn't make sense to have her in the match for how little she had an influence on how the match played out.
Yeah, she wasn't. She spent a lot of time on the outside, didn't she? She wasn't a huge part of that match.
And I don't know if you picked up on it, but I think she might have been a submission specialist because all I saw her do, apart from a flurry of kicks partway through the match, which was probably the highlight of her match,
Yeah,
she just kept trying to go for a sleeper hold. And
yeah.
no shade to Lola Vice. I mean,
Fair
girl's
play. If
got
you
a
can pull it
look.
off, you can pull it off. But there was no
Girl
need
look
to put her in there. I don't think.
girl looks like she's got a fantastic personality on her. And and yeah, but uh, lots of high spots in the match. But Baker came out victorious, earning herself a number one contender spot for the Women's North American Championship. But yeah, again, sort of very inconsequential to the match. Lola Vice.
Yeah, but it does give us again that basis. So when we do get that women's North American Championship match, which I'm hoping is going to be next week, we get an opportunity to see where the storyline is going to continue to go, and hoping it's not just the end of that feud. Um, so it'll be interesting. But no, it was it was a decent match. It could have been a lot better. I've
Yeah,
definitely seen a lot worse. Um,
100%.
from plenty of promotions, so I wouldn't worry too much. But
Yeah.
for what it was it was a average match. It was good.
Um, then we went into a flurry of promos. First promo was a VT,
Yep.
which we saw as a build up for the. A, well, no, it was a recap of of a previous match between Ethan Page and Javon Evans, which included an absolutely visceral shot. Like that chair shot, I remember physically gasping when I saw it because we've had some
Brutal chair shots in the past.
but never to the point where you're seeing somebody looking like they're spitting half their frigging jaw out. That
Didn't
was quite
Chris
a
Masters
scene.
take a nasty one a few years ago straight to the face?
Yeah, but I don't remember him, as I said, spitting part of his jaw out.
Yeah.
That was visceral, and that has got me quite immediately invested in that sort of that build up to that feud that where Javon Evans is going to be coming back. Um,
I like a
but
good blood match as well. I
oh
like it
yeah,
when
got to be
I
getting a bit
love
of color.
watching wrestlers get bloody now.
Got to be getting a bit of color. I mean, they overused it a little bit at one stage, but it's it every now and again, yeah, can that really add to a story.
But it
Then
did
we
with the
went,
Punk Rollins match on Monday Night Raw.
yeah,
But it was brilliant.
but next promo was the NXT GM, and
Saw a lot of Ava. To be fair, it's nice to see her on regular TV.
do you know, I actually felt, huh,
We saw a little bit too much of her.
yeah, I feel like she was a bit overexposed. Almost every single promo Ava is in some way, shape, or form involved, which made me feel like she was a bit more of a babysitter than a general manager. Is that she just I yeah. Whereas when you look at Raw's GM and SmackDown's GM, bearing in mind
Don't really see much
The
of them.
current GM used to be the GM for NXT.
Yep.
They're there, they play a vital role, but they are not overexposed. Whereas I feel Ava on this episode of NXT was really overexposed.
That's
I
fair
hope
enough.
she got a I hope she got a bloody good payday for it. Let's put it that way.
It wouldn't be there if she wasn't, I suppose. It's NXT after all. It is their developmental stage, so babysitting maybe not quite. More of a just remember, keep your hands out of your pockets and say please and thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, we had Alba Fire and Isla Dawn discussing a match with Fatal Influence for a number one contender spot at the tag straps, which might be interesting later on down the line. Again, I'll
Yep.
keep prefacing it. I have no clue who any of these women are, and it's such a shame. I really wish I'd a little bit more understanding. But then we
Hopefully,
switched.
this time next year, we will have a lot more understanding
Oh,
with who these women are, and we might even see some of them move up onto the main roster sometime soon. Definitely, some of them have got that ability. So,
oh, 100%. I am so looking forward to him joining main roster. But we switched gears immediately to a an update on Eddie Thorpe, who we saw previously laid out on the stairs. Um, and yeah, biggest thing with that was Big Oba Femi, who basically admits to
yeah,
kicking the living daylights out of Thorpe.
it was
And
me. I'm not
yeah,
gonna. I wouldn't pick a fight with the guy. He's a big, big fella.
oh, 100%. He says it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, even if it's
Hmm.
Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
I'm not going with the guy.
but yeah, so yeah, I mean, after that we had the third match of the night was Fatal Influence versus Tatum Paxley,
Got see.
Gigi Dolin, and Shotzi. We've seen Shotzi a few times on the main roster. So it was nice to see somebody I actually recognised. It's like going to a it was almost like going to a family reunion. You see that cousin that you like that you haven't seen in ages, but you actually know who the hell they are.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was
But
like watching. Yeah, it was strange. It was kind of like watching, like being back in high school and watching the playground. You've got all the Fatal Attraction girls are all very prim, pretty, proper, and one side, and then we've got Shotzi that's got more tattoos than I think I've got, absolutely covered in just like bright green hair, and it's like the goth group in the corner. It's
yeah,
definitely a bit of a rivalry between those ones,
but
and
it was nice to see Shotzi pick up a win in this one.
yeah,
Sort of a very sort of high flyy match again, and
she straight pinned the current North American Women's Champion as well, which was clean pinned her in the ring for the win. So that boosts her push obviously quite drastically. So
definitely, and it's a key component in that is that Shotzi pinned the current women's North American champion because that I think feeds into something that happens later on as well. So, um,
yeah,
but yeah, um,
it was a great match. Technically, it was a good match. I like
yeah.
the high flying, the fast paced matches that they kind of get you. If it's dragging you towards the end of your seat, you get a few near falls and stuff like that. It definitely helps.
Oh, definitely. I mean, especially when you're looking more so at women's wrestling, in my opinion, is that you tend to see a lot more high flying from them nowadays because, again, a ground
Oh,
and pound
athletic.
style is more suited to somebody that's got the mass to be able to do it. And these girls are so slight, and there's yeah, they don't have the mass to be able to pull off a ground and pound style realistically. So, um, but
The aerial way I find is a lot more elegant and a lot nicer to watch.
yeah,
And you
it's
don't have
very
the blokes
engaging.
that have got the body type past a certain size to be able to do it. And well, you haven't got a lot the smaller guys that can jump around. Otherwise, we'd still have the cruiserweight division and 205. So
Yeah, that died a death for a reason, though, in my opinion. It just wasn't, but it wasn't billed, it wasn't booked, it wasn't promoted. It was,
Poor
it
excuse,
was,
but
yeah, it wasn't WWE's best showing. But coming out of that match, we went into another promo with, guess again, it's Ava, the NXT GM,
Ethan
and
Page again.
Ethan Page, discussing the VT we saw earlier on of the brutal chair shot for Javon Evans, and the final boss himself comes and weighs in on it all. Which don't know about you, I saw the possible beginnings of maybe a feud in the future. They've certainly teased it. It's possible that we might get a Rock match in NXT sometime soon.
It's a tease, but I mean, like I said on social media this week, Rock's made more appearances this week on WWE programming than he's made in some of his own feuds. So I don't really think there's going to be a huge amount to that story. They might tease it as just an interest, a hype moment because it was the debut of NXT on Netflix, but I don't see anything coming from it in the long run. Why would
No,
Rock want to jump down to NXT and go and wrestle in smaller venues when he can make more money off the bigger arenas on the main roster at Raw?
I mean, let's face it though. I don't think The Rock is really wrestling for the money anymore.
No, but
The guy is minted beyond minted. Let's
oh
face
yeah,
it.
he's made more money than anyone of us will earn, but you're not gonna. He's not quite at that point, and he's not the sort of wrestler that's going to give too much back too quickly. He's going to want something first.
No,
Normally, with Rock, it involves a WrestleMania main event appearance, but I digress.
yeah. Um, Moving swiftly on from there, we had a Heritage Cup match, which I understand that this didn't follow its normal format. Although I don't fully know what its normal format is. I think they do it in like very short, sharp bursts. There are breaks in between the rounds and things like that. Whereas this one was done on a singles match. It was standard singles match
It
format.
was
First
basically a
pinfall
sudden death
wins.
match, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. They build it as a sudden death match. I viewed it as it's a one on one, one full count, and it was Lexus King versus Charlie Dempsey, and not names that I'm tremendously familiar with, although there was one eerily familiar face in there. Is Lexus King, who more tenured wrestling fans will know better as Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah.
Um, who for the longest time, I don't think he's really struggled to get into WWE. They weren't going to let him in. I don't think. I think Vince put a block on him.
Wasn't that
But
something to do with his dad, though?
it was. I can't quite remember what it was, but Brian Pillman Senior. One of his sort of biggest claims to fame was the fact that he was a former tag team partner of a slightly more well-known wrestler, otherwise goes by Stone Cold Steve Austin. Wrestled as the as both parts of the Hollywood Blondes in WCW,
A little bit trivia for
and
you there.
I mean Charlie Dempsey's not without his own sort of pedigree. He's the son of William Regal.
That on its own is a quite a big statement, to be fair. One of the best British wrestlers to definitely come out in the last chunk of time.
And I mean, Charlie Dempsey's no stranger to NXT either. He was actually formerly of the UK leg of NXT, which seems to have died a bit of a death, unfortunately. You don't really hear much of it, which was a shame because I remember when it was first announced, I was actually really excited by it. And I remember discussing it with you.
Yeah, well, we were
Um,
both excited at the fact that we could, in theory, have an opportunity to see a lot more local talent coming up and through and being able to progress further into WWE, which I know is something a lot of the guys want to do when they're out wrestling, and WWE is the end game for a lot of them. And the NXT UK brand had an opportunity to push that and didn't quite work. But you never know what's going to happen in the future. Something else might come around the corner.
Again, I think it was just underfunded, underpromoted, underutilized, and yeah, just didn't get the airtime it needed. But um, yeah, I mean, Lexus King came out of that match with a victory, picked up the Heritage Cup. He's now the Heritage Cup champion, so fantastic. Loving the work of Brian Pillman Jr. Really doing his dad proud.
They were back
All
in the
came
ring
from
as well.
some incidental Well, no, the commentary team had classed it as incidental contact. Um, I believe it may have actually been a head to the plums that ended that match rather swiftly.
Not gonna lie, if I took a head to the plums, I'd probably end whatever I was doing rather swiftly.
Well, yeah, this is it. But yeah, we went into yet another promo with everybody's favorite GM, Ava. Um, and yeah, we this was all based around the North American Women's Champion. So we had Fallon Henley, women's current women's US champion, and Stephanie Baker, who is the now number one contender from the Fatal
Um,
Four Way earlier in the evening. And as I alluded to earlier on, this was where Shotzi threw her hat in the ring and said, "Hang on, I had champion laid out on the mat, 1, 2, 3, and I think that gives me the right."
I think there's a triple threat coming at the next NXT pay-per-view for that title. So it'd
There
be
is
interesting to see how they work it through.
they've certainly left room for it, and I mean, yeah, that promo ended with Ava basically sticking Stephanie Baker and Shotzi in a singles match for overall number one contender next week on NXT. So that's something else to look forward to. Um, and then fifth and final match of the evening. I mean, this was I found this interesting only on the basis that NXT managed to work in one more match than Raw main show.
Mm.
Raw main show only had four matches altogether, and NXT managed to work a fifth match in there with less time.
It
And
kind of shows what they're working with if they can push it through.
well, this is going to feed into a takeaway that I got from NXT in general, just on initial first impressions. But yeah, the fifth and final match was the main event. Triple threat match for the NXT title. Trick Williams, current champion, versus Obafemi and,
Eddie
well,
Thorpe. Well, it was supposed to
Eddie
be Eddie
Thorpe.
Thorpe, but he got
Well,
laid
this is
out at
it.
the beginning of the show, and
He
then
got laid out.
Obafemi admitted to laying him out.
Yeah, so it started off looking more like a singles match between Trick Williams and Obafemi, and I mean,
Had a decent
Obafemi was
start.
really Obafemi was really over with this crowd, and they were really, but they really wanted him to win, and I'm not sure this was an initial hatred of Trick Williams. I just think Obafemi was more popular. Uh,
You know, Tripp's been a half decent champion from what I've seen on social media and online. So I've not really watched a lot of NXT, but I do get snippets pop up on my Facebook and stuff like that and other social medias. So
see
he
that
looks like he's been having some fun with it, but yeah, Obafemi was all over him for a majority of it. Definitely not a squash match, but it did feel like you could tell from the start where it was going.
I just don't think anybody could have predicted how it went. I mean, we knew that it was billed as a triple threat. We knew, I mean, I sort of called it quite early on. Eddie Thorpe, yes, he was laid out earlier in the night. They laid it on really thick to say, oh, we don't know if he's going to be able to wrestle
You
or
knew he was
anything
going to
like
make an
that.
appearance at some point as an interference or something along those lines.
I mean, it just, as a main event, it was a bit underwhelming for me. I mean,
Yeah,
we walked out of that match with a new NXT champion in Obafemi, which means that both major titles on NXT changed hands on their Netflix debut, which was which, do you know what, I didn't not
Fresh start for a
appreciate.
fresh story, to be fair.
Yeah, props to both of them, but yeah, Eddie Thorpe seemed to act as more of a hindrance to Trick Williams than, I mean, he wasn't there to help him, but he really did seem to just get in the way. I
Yeah,
mean, I felt like if I was in it, I felt more so for me that Eddie Thorpe. I've related to Eddie Thorpe in the sense that it did just feel like he got more in the way than anything else, and I have moments in my life where I feel like I'm more in the way than anything else, more under people's feet than
every
anything
shift
else.
I go to work at the moment, and it's just me there half the time.
This is it, and but yeah, we got obviously
Well, we
the
finished the
fact,
show with both new champions stood up with their titles, didn't we? So,
yeah, and I
which
mean
was nice.
last segment on this show was the Rock's address to NXT, which they've been teasing all night, and yeah,
He cut that close,
Rock,
didn't he?
not
He didn't
one of
have
the
much
Rock's
time
best
left.
stories. He didn't, and in fairness, I mean, The Rock does as The Rock does. He trotted out a lot of his standard lines, and
Hmm.
but
It was all,
he,
look at me, I'm the Rock. He didn't really do much.
no, he didn't have a plan going into that promo. And I mean, in fairness, earlier
He
on,
did
when
tell Ava that in one of the first promos of the day, so, and she did explain to him that he'd understand, what to do when he felt the crowd, and he bigged himself up and he blew some smoke and everyone loved it and the pop was huge.
but I picked up on some real nervous energy from him. I could feel the nerves from him, and
Mhm.
that's unusual. That's a side of the Rock we don't see very often. Um, again, I think I think the Rock's not done with NXT. I think there's definitely room there for them to sort of work their way through. But I don't know. Maybe it's just it's just sort of it is just smoke blowing smoke up themselves, and yeah. But any big takeaways from NXT for you? What are your thoughts?
Nothing like overall in general, it was a reasonably decent program. Like as a whole, I say without knowing the storylines, it does make it a little bit harder to differentiate what is going on and why that is happening. But I think within a couple of weeks and a couple more episodes, I'll be more clued in, and I would have been able to do more research into previous episodes to try and catch up and get myself more aligned. But it definitely left me wanting a little bit more. I will give it that one.
One of the good things about WWE storytelling in general, whether it's main roster or NXT, is that they are very good at recapping over what's happened with the story. I know that's
Yeah.
sort of the role that the commentators generally tend to fill, but we will be able to catch up pretty quickly. But one of the big takeaways from one of the I had a few takeaways from NXT. One of them was Ava's overexposure.
Hmm.
Just don't think she needed to be in every promo. Personally, again, babysitter over GM, and everything felt rushed. It felt like they got a lot of content and they had to try and squeeze. There were like various little production mistakes. I think I seem to remember at one stage they were changing the ring. I think they were changing something in ring, and we had a camera shot of them, and it was almost like turning the lights on and having cockroaches scurry in different directions.
Yep.
They
Everyone
were all
ran.
like oh shit, I'm not supposed to be here. And yeah, it just it felt it felt like WWE had put their B team in production.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't just the up and comers for that aren't quite ready for the main roster that are wrestling in the ring. It felt like there was a lot of up and comers coming in the production side of it as well. And yeah, it just wasn't that to me wasn't a fantastic experience. personally.
No.
But mm,
Well, let's see if they can
it's
pick up on their
disappointing.
mistakes and work through it for next week.
It's a smaller show. I'm not expert. I think I tried to compare it possibly to like Raw the previous night, which was very sort of polished. Very. I mean, any mistakes on that, I think heads would have rolled. But
Yeah.
NXT, I just think I think they relaxed a little bit too much, maybe. But yeah,
Be
so
interesting to see what they do with SmackDown.
well, mentioning SmackDown, we may as well bowl straight into our thoughts from SmackDown this previous week. So,
Yeah.
what do you say?
We have got an opportunity to sit and discuss this week's SmackDown, which was in Portland, Oregon, and the first one on Netflix as well.
Yeah, and we started off SmackDown with a Raw recap, a rather comprehensive Raw recap.
Yeah.
It took up quite a bit of time. I don't think necessarily we needed to go into that level of detail with Raw to sort of recap what had happened, but creative choices, I suppose.
It could have been worse. We could have had another promo from The Rock.
We could have. That is the one thing that was missing from SmackDown. He could have gone full house and decided not to. We did, however, start the night off with an in-ring Paul Heyman promo.
We did. And as normal, Paul Heyman manages to grab a crowd at the start of an event and really hook them in. And yeah, this promo was no different. Especially with the contents of it as well. The celebration of Roman Reigns winning his tribal combat against Solo Sikoa, getting the Ulafala back.
Yeah, I mean his unequivocal delight at the fact that he no longer has to answer to Solo Sikoa.
I mean, can you blame the guy?
No, not really. Well, it's almost like picking the bad boss based on sort of how they treat their tenure as tribal chief went. I mean, yes, Roman Reigns spent like an unholy amount of days as WWE champion in his initial tenure as tribal chief.
It's just
However,
over 1,000, wasn't it?
something like that, yeah. Solo Sikoa just generally tended to treat everybody that little bit better, but just didn't have the strap count to be able to keep up with his predecessor.
Yeah. But no, it was nice to see that, Heyman brought out Cody Rhodes to basically rub it in his face that Roman was entering the Royal Rumble just to steal his title at WrestleMania.
But it started off at least as it was a very respectful conversation. In fairness, I mean,
It definitely was. But then that's normally Heyman's style.
not really. My experience of Heyman's style is that he can be quite sort of brass balls about it. He will find those little sensitive spots and just give them a fucking good poke.
He does give him a poke, but he's never over the top with it. And he's never overly disrespectful with it. He's normally he toes a line.
Yeah, fair play. But yeah, as I think you alluded to, we had Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman announced that Roman Reigns intends to enter the Rumble, so we know at least two entrants now for the Royal Rumble, being Roman Reigns and John Cena.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this was quite an action-packed promo for the beginning of the match, because not only did Cody Rhodes come out, but Kevin Owens interrupts, and
Where you get one, you get the other at the moment.
They are very much sort of joined at the hip. It's yeah, they are pushing this story to the nth degree, but they've got a ladder match at Rumble. Maybe that will be the end of that little rivalry. And
well, that one's for both titles, isn't it? You've got the Winged Eagle that Kevin Owens is currently running around with, and then you've got the right. So obviously you've got Cody in the ring with Paul Heyman, and then Kevin Owens decides he's coming out. He's got a bit of an issue with the bloodline. He's building heat for his ladder match at Rumble with Cody. and those two just go ham.
I mean, with Kevin Owens on a Bloodline crusade and Drew McIntyre on a Bloodline crusade, are we heading towards not necessarily a rivalry, but are we heading towards like either a partnership or a faction of some kind?
Suggesting we could end up with Drew and Kevin Owens in a tag team, so to speak.
Potentially.
Could be an interesting perspective of it. It's not one that I personally thought of, but it's definitely an interesting perspective coming up that way.
I mean, it leaves the door wide open for it as far as I'm concerned. But
and it would give you something to start off with, like a 5v5 match somewhere, or quite a big sort of I don't know what you think of. Not necessarily like a battle royale, but you could get quite a high sort of team, sort of
they could end
one
up just,
fall in there.
I was going to say they could end up, depending on how Solo Sikoa returns and what happens with Tonga and Fatu, it could turn into something a little bit more that way, but it's difficult to know how that one would play out. But speaking of Tonga and Fatu, we saw those during this promo as well. They seem to slide in the ring unnoticed to confront Heyman, the wise man.
Got a bit of a thing for him at the moment.
Well, he's out there rubbing it in Solo Sikoa's face, essentially, that, ha, you lost.
They were his bodyguards, I suppose, so they were his enforcers.
But the commentary team made a big thing about saying throughout the night that they are without a master at the moment because of Solo Sikoa's absence. But
he's kind of, since he lost the Ulafala, he's gone off licking his wounds a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and I don't think anybody can really blame him.
No.
But then we saw Jimmy Uso run in, Uso coming in to save the wise man. And then we just had there was loads of people in the ring by the end of that promo.
That was just an all-out brawl.
And Cody coming back to the ring. It just, complete chaos to start SmackDown.
Only people you didn't have in that promo was security. No security at all.
But that's because all the security was backstage for the next promo we saw, which was basically Tonga and Fatu battling against backstage security for everybody's favourite Canadian wrestler at the moment, LA Knight, to come barreling in, boot them out.
He made a remark, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I think it was something like he wasn't using his inside voice, so I kicked him outside as he walked off.
That was precisely what he said. It was,
and I must admit, it made me laugh. I chuckled.
Oh, 100%. It was
such
pure
a great
comedic
line.
value. Oh, yeah. But
stuck a big target on his back doing that, though.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was never going to go any other way but Sunday, really, was it?
No, it was not.
But then we moved into the first match, which was a women's US Championship match, which was Mishin versus Chelsea Green as the current champion, who came
She was brought out with Piper Niven.
Piper Niven, that's right, yeah.
Looked very security-esque.
Very sort of glam security.
It was, very much so.
In only the way that WWE can honestly do that.
Pretty sure we saw Mae Young wear something very similar, but obviously a different size many times.
Oh, 100%. But yeah, what can we say about it? What can we say about this match? Really, I mean, it's Chelsea Green to me was coming off it. I mean, Chelsea Green in that story, Chelsea Green is taking on a lot of heel characteristics. It's I took a note of the fact that there was a lot of what good old JR used to refer to as chicken shit heel moves. It was a lot of in and out of the ring, a lot of like ducking and diving for opportunity and all that stuff. Whereas Mishin was doing some actually really solid technical wrestling when she could get Chelsea Green to stay in the ring long enough. I mean, I was actually quite impressed with an early on over the top rope submission. I don't know if you would have caught that as well, but
I'm
I
going to be
was
brutally honest with you. I struggled with this one, and not too long into the match, I actually fell asleep. So this is probably one of the few of the actual program that really couldn't get me enough to keep me up. So yeah, no, I definitely I didn't see that one. I was snoozing for that one.
fair enough. I mean, we finished that one with Chelsea Green retaining with a another famous chicken shit heel move, which was gaining some extra leverage with a handful of Mishin's tights, and yeah, that was all she wrote with that one.
Very every which way but loose way of doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, if she is playing a heel character, then we're getting what we pay for, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, then it was a pre-recorded promo from earlier in the night with uh, SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis, the Motor City Machine Guns, Pretty Dangerous, and
And
A
A
Town
Town
Downtown.
Downtown. Yeah.
There was another team there as well, but I'm not. I will be completely honest. My notes do not tell me who they are.
I believe,
And
was it not Legado del Fantasma?
possibly,
Because
um,
they faced off with Pretty Deadly in the next match.
they did, and it was all about the pre-recorded promo was basically just setting up the backstory for the next couple of tag team matches that we see. Which the first one, as you've just mentioned, was Los Garza versus Pretty Deadly.
Hmm.
I mean, not a bad match, but it was.
I mean, it started before the bell with a sort of with a brawl in the ring, didn't it? And sort of in and out with a lot of early sort of pinfalls and kickouts. It's quite a
It
high
was a very.
octane start.
It was a very sort of predictable match outcome, though. We got one tag team. Los Garza came out with um, Electra and Legada del Fantasma, who was running interference on the outside. It went the only way it was ever going to, which was a win for Los Garza.
Yeah.
Then we moved into the third match, which was a men's US title match.
Yeah. Did you
Not the
notice anything different with the entrance for LA Knight with the US title match?
um, no, I will be honest. I didn't.
If you get an
What's the spot
opportunity,
that I missed?
if you get an opportunity, go back. They have actually started trying to rebrand LA Knight in the middle of his run. So when they introduce LA Knight now, he's known as LA Knight, yeah. And the artwork on the screen that comes up, and with his uh, entrance on the big screens as well, shows him as LA Knight, yeah.
Oh right, okay. I know that Lillian Garcia, the in-ring announcer, had a bit of fun with LA Knight with her attempt at a yeah. Um,
Yeah, I say that's now how he's introduced to the ring as LA Knight, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't really sort of pick up on that myself.
Go back and have a little look. Tell me if I'm
I'll
wrong.
definitely go back and have a look at at some stage. But we've yeah, LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the men's US title. This was a rematch. As
Yeah,
LA Knight recently lost this title, but I I've got a bias on this one. I will be completely honest. I'm not a huge fan of Shinsuke Nakamura. I
I'm
just
not.
think he's a very he's wrestling wise in general. he's pretty good. He's pretty good. I'm not giving where credit's due.
Well, he
He's
used to
good at what he
be a
does.
jiu-jitsu specialist in MMA before he became a sports entertainer. So the technicality, you can kind of see where he gets it from.
My issue with with Nakamura has always been
He's
a
boring.
lack of ability. He's a lack of ability to cut a promo, and yeah, he is. He's dull, and I
Very
just
dull.
can't. I can't say that if I was booking if I were booking his matches, I can't say that I'd be able to justify strongly enough the pushes that he gets.
All the title runs he has.
No, it's
I don't get it personally.
somebody somewhere sees something that I don't. And
Yeah,
do you know what? Fair play. He's obviously doing something right because he keeps getting all these pushes,
I
but
think,
at the
as we
minute,
said
I'm just not
earlier,
seeing it.
it's one of those cases that he was really, really good in other promotions, but he's come to WWE and not really been able to use that same gimmick that he's had elsewhere in the same way, and it's affected his ability to do so.
Yeah, I
And I
think so.
think
And
it's very much he runs that same sort of gimmick. It's not much of a change when he re, rebrands.
no, this is it. And the minute he's doing some kind of samurai shinobi
Yeah,
shit
with
with
the
his
face mask.
entrance, the face mask, the face paint, which is a very striking image on its own. Don't get me wrong,
It
but
looks cool,
yeah,
but
it's not enough to make him interesting.
no,
Um,
he's not Jeff Hardy.
no, definitely not. But yeah, I mean, there was a few spots in this match that I took note of. I thought sort of the back and forth between LA Knight and Nakamura was believable. It was that there wasn't anything that was out of place. We sort of between returned to form of Raw rather than NXT, where in NXT we had quite a few matches where there were bits and pieces that just weren't believable enough to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the exposed middle turnbuckle that we had partway through the match, the one that just went fly. I don't remember seeing that being loosened. So
It must have
the
just pinged.
commentary team tried to play it off like it had been loosened earlier in the match, and I don't know if it was just I wasn't paying enough attention, but that thing went. I mean, it went and
It was funny.
flew off. At first I thought somebody had lost a boot or something. I will be completely honest. But yeah, yeah. Um, we had uh, uh, we had another run in by
Well,
Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, getting a bit of
payback,
payback on LA Knight for
which I
kicking them
think
out
we
of the
knew
building.
was going to happen at some point. Like I said, he painted a target on his back when he threw them out of the building in the first sort of promo at the start of the run.
Yeah,
And
and this just sort of broke down into more and more chaos because we had, I think we had Cody Rhodes and Jimmy Uso come out to
yeah,
try and restore some order,
and then
and
Nick Aldis and a few refs and a few other guys came out. Which you had Cody shouting at Nick, "Come on, we're here, they're here, we want to fight,
yeah,
they want to fight, let's fucking fight," pretty much.
so and that's how we ended up with the main event of the pay per view, main event of the episode. It just sort of naturally evolved from there, I suppose. But
Which
yeah,
was nice to see. They're bringing back the off the cuff main events, and they're
yes,
working it from that angle. If you remember, sort of 10 years ago, where you'd have like an interference, and then they'd have that match. It was there. It was then. There was no like we're going to wait until this pay-per-view or wait until that pay-per-view. It's we're fighting this week or next week at the latest.
yeah, this is it. It's a bit of instant gratification, really.
Hmm.
But yeah, they built a lot of instant heat in this match or for
Yeah,
this match, and tried to build it maybe a little bit too quickly.
but it
Maybe
did work partly. I mean, the crowd in Portland were loving it. There was
Oh,
lots of chants going around that were very positive. Lots of holy
100%.
shits and this is amazing and this is awesome and all the standard things you get from a wrestling show.
Yeah, this is it. But we had to wait a little bit for the main event to come around. So in the meantime, we were treated to a VT promo of how Tiffany Stratton became women's champion.
Yeah, well, that was after she cashed in her Money in the Bank 11 months after signing with SmackDown.
Yeah,
And, yeah, kind of waited for Naomi and Nia to pretty much have as much fun as they could and then came in and finished the job.
I mean, how the Money in the Bank contract should be used. Let's face
Definitely.
it, we had a massive run when Money in the Bank was first introduced. God knows how many years ago, where it was always done that way.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, they teased the hell out of the Money in the Bank cash in for Tiffany Stratton. She was carrying that thing around like it was life itself, and nearly cashed it in on several occasions. And yeah,
She played it well,
night
though.
before,
It was
she
well
did.
presented because anytime you see that suitcase and that suitcase near someone else's match and you think, well, is that going to be, are we going to get it now? And there's so
Yeah,
many times
it
you think
plays
it's
in.
going to be handed in and then they go, actually, no, this is mine. I'm keeping this.
Yeah, it plays into the psychology, and we had a few
Mm.
instances where she was running into matches and everything, running into matches with Nia Jackson, and it was a case that she was, oh yeah, no, no, I'm going to cash it in, I'm going to cash. Oh no, 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 not just yet.
Nope,
Um,
not today.
yeah, not today, good sir. But yeah, I mean, the VT spoke for itself. We
It
know
did.
now if you didn't catch the SmackDown the week before, which aired
On
for
YouTube.
majority aired on YouTube for anybody outside of the US. Um, which I've now found is actually on has been added into Netflix. So if you did miss it, you've got the opportunity to go back and watch it. So
Yeah, I
see
found
it
that out a little bit too
firsthand.
late as well. I watched the first half of that one, realized thinking it was this week's episode, and then was like, "Whoops, my bad. Better go back and
See,
rewatch the proper one."
I did it in the opposite order. It was kind of a case that I finished watching this week's SmackDown for then Netflix to do its normal thing of, oh, we've got something else for you to watch. Thinking it was just a trailer, and then all of a sudden this next episode starts. I was like, what? There's what did I miss? And then I had to go back to realise, oh wait, no, this was the one that aired on YouTube.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, rolling on. We've got fourth match. Wow, we're at the fourth match already.
Right.
This was the second of the tag team matches, which was the Motor City Machine Guns, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley
And
versus
18
A
down
Town.
under, which was
Yeah,
yeah.
Austin Theory and Grayson Waller.
Yep.
Previously, as far as I'm concerned, used for comic value more than anything else. But I'm going to be honest, I'm not. I didn't hate the match.
It wasn't bad to be fair. It started off with a bit of a push for down under. They were quite dominant, but then after
I
the
think
first sort of like 5 minutes, it seemed to even out. For
I think it served as a good reminder to remind everybody that Austin Theory and Grayson Waller are actually professional wrestlers. They're not just muppets with mouths. It's a case that, well, there can be both. I know, but it's
look at Enzo Amore.
it's a case that no, because Austin Theory and Grayson Waller can actually wrestle. Um,
All right, you got me on that one.
Yeah, so A-Town Down Under, a really solid showing. I mean, they didn't come out of it with the win. I mean, Motor City Machine Guns are an established tag team. They've got a 20-year tenure. Theory and Waller really didn't stand a chance with it. I
No.
mean, I remember watching Motor City Machine Guns when they were in TNA and Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
Slightly different promotion, different presentation, but they were so dominant. And the only thing that I'm a little bit I'm a little bit sad for them.
Have they done with
in the
them
sense,
as they do with every other tag team they pull from other promotions? They give them a little bit of a push and then just completely destroy them.
well, no, that's not what I'm sad for them for. That they will do that because it's what WWE do. But I'm sad for them, the Motor City Machine Guns, because I feel like they would have had so much more of a push had they made it to WWE sooner.
Yeah.
These guys have been wrestling together for 20 years.
Yeah.
If they'd have got in 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, they'd have had such a run because they were hot shit, and they still are. Don't get me wrong, they are a phenomenal tag team and have fantastic ring presence. But it just, yeah, I've just feel like they're not too old to wrestle, but I think they're getting to a point where they may be getting
Not
towards
worth
past
pushing
their prime.
getting the push because they're on the more veteran side.
They'll get a championship reign. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I mean, the previous this match and the previous tag team match were were championship qualifiers. I mean,
Yeah, so
again,
you've got
Motor
the
City
number one
Machine Guns.
contenders, I'm guessing will be next week, which will end up being Motor City Machine Guns and
That's my prediction. I'm thinking. I mean, Los Garza won on the base. They had a solid match, but they won on the basis of outside interference.
Mhm.
Whereas Shelley and Saban, I just think they're going to come out of that with a They're going to come out of that with a victory. They're going to go
I would say so.
They're going to go to Royal Rumble, possibly Elimination Chamber, or maybe even
Challenge.
just a weekly episode, challenge the tag champs and pick up the straps. It's how that's going to work in my view.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I can't agree more with you on that one.
Speaking of the tag champs, they were featured straight afterwards in a promo between them and
Pretty
Pretty
Deadly.
And I wasn't fantastically up on the storylines for this, so my understanding of what happened here was that Pretty Deadly seemed to expect like DIY to
Yes,
interfere in their match or sort of
I
guarantee a
think
victory for them.
something happened last week with Pretty Deadly giving DIY a bit of help, and they were expecting a back scratch back when they went in against for their match, and it didn't come that way, and
No.
they were a little bit annoyed with it, which is fair enough, but you shouldn't do a favor to ask for a favor, you know.
No, but I think DIY have come out of this promo looking like
The heel.
they've come out of it looking smart, a damn sight smarter than Pretty Deadly.
Oh yeah.
Um,
But then if you look at
Pretty
Pretty Deadly's outfits, they don't look particularly smart.
no, but you can't always judge a book by its cover.
You can't.
I think even Apollo Crews sort of cottoned onto the fact that DIY were
Scheming something.
pulling their pisser as it goes. It wasn't. Yeah, it's one of them.
Bit of a strange
it's all
promo.
going to degrade. It's going to degrade down eventually, but yeah. Then we're building back into the ring, but not with the next promo.
Right.
We went straight to a promo with an obviously upset Nia Jax and Candice LeRae.
Well, she was pulling Nia Jax's piss on that one, trying to upset the apple cart. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would have taken much realistically. What we know of Nia Jax's
temperament.
personality, she's not one to lose and doesn't like it. I mean, nobody likes to lose, but
Nia a little
Nia
bit more
Jax,
than most people dislikes losing.
yeah, Nia Jax is not going to take losing lying down.
No, and definitely not to Tiffy.
Yeah. Then, well, funny we mentioned Tiffy. We had in-ring Tiffy time.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
She plays the character really well, and it's
just a hard character to watch.
I can't say what I was going to say because we've got to have certain limits on what we can say. But fuck me, her voice did my tree in.
Yeah, the over the top Barbie sort of style gimmick's a little bit close to the knuckle for me. I can work with it for
It
a
was
little while,
sweet.
but
She went overboard with the sweet to the point that I felt like I might get diabetes.
yeah,
So,
and
but
a little bit too overboardy with Screechy as well. That was a little bit like, oh come on, we don't need quite as much as that, but fair play, I get it.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, Tiffy's running her mouth basically until Nia Jax, the
Comes
immovable
out and
object.
runs hers a little bit.
No, no, not the immovable object. She's the irresistible force. That's Nia Jax. Sorry, wrong nickname.
Who's the immovable object?
I don't know. I might have to think about that one, but never mind. Yeah, so Jax is basically saying, "Yeah, you're going to give me my title back, or I'm going to kick 7 bells of shit out of you."
To which Tiffy didn't really respond, but
N-
Bailey
I
did.
don't think I was going to say I don't think she really had time to respond realistically because we had Bailey who took great pleasure in calling them both stupid, which yeah, I'm not going to lie, my personal stock in Bailey went up just with that part of that promo alone.
I am gonna pull up. So I've just had a quick Google about the irresistible force, and we have just managed to mistake Nia Jax for Andre the Giant.
I
Not much difference.
dare you to say that to her face.
Yeah, I'm not that stupid. Um, but yeah, carry on. Sorry, mate.
But yeah, no. So Bailey walks out, calls them both stupid. Um, which yeah, I mean, I think she makes completely valid points.
She
I
does.
don't need to explain. Don't need to explain why Tiffany Stratton is coming across as stupid.
Nope.
Um,
And Nia being led astray by Tiffany just, yeah,
yeah,
makes her look stupid.
Stupid is as stupid does.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, Bailey throwing her hat in the ring for the title shot. And then
Which
we've
is a
got
valid shout because she was the champion before Nia held it. So after beating EI Sky at WrestleMania for it.
yeah. Um, and then we've got Naomi and Bianca Belair coming out, the current women's tag champs,
Naomi
coming
was
out to stake
pissed
their claim.
for the fact that she had Nia pretty much beat until you know Tiffy came and cashed in.
I
So
love the fact that for the most part, Bianca Belair managed to insert us. She came out, to my view, she came out in support of Naomi,
yeah, as the
which
tag
fair
champion
play.
with a tag team mate, that's and then got into a match for number one contender.
Without saying a word.
Yes,
She didn't say anything, although, in fairness, Nia tried having a starting some beef with Belair, and yeah, it just breaks out into a brawl where we've got Nick Aldis who comes out. Right, okay, fair play.
you've
Fatal
all
four
got a
way this
stake to
shit.
a claim. Yeah, go and fight it out, and the winner can have their shot.
So yeah, we had another instant decision by SmackDown GM Nick Aldis
And that literally
to
was the
put them
next
all into
match.
a we put them all into a fatal 4 way right now. Where it basically turned into a.
Another brawl.
I mean,
And all on Nia
you st-
Jax's occasion, to be fair.
yeah, Nia Jax got. Well, in fairness, it happens every time we've got a bigger superstar in the ring. Is that it makes sense to get rid of the biggest threat first,
Yeah.
which they tried to do.
But then they kind of. Bailey felt a little bit like a spare part in this sometimes because you had the tag champions in there, Bailey and Nia Jax. And at one point, it was always a 3-on-1.
In fairness, this match fell really flat for me. And it's sort of the same thing that we said about the NXT Fatal 4-Way, is that it could have quite easily been a triple threat and been a lot more competitive. And in this case, it was Bianca Belair that just didn't seem to make any impact. Because you got Nia ducks outside, drags Belair outside with her.
Yeah.
After that, you don't really see much. I'm not going to sit here and say that you didn't see anything from Belair.
It wasn't a huge amount, and there was no highlights from her time in that match. There's no one point that stands out for me, apart from maybe later on in the match where she hit Naomi with her hair on accident. That was really a...
How has that not been designated a weapon yet? Considering
It is a lot of hair, man, and it's huge.
I mean, it's all extensions. I
But all the
refuse to
same.
believe she's got that much hair.
I mean, it's possible, but yeah, no. But yeah, it's got to be heavy.
I mean,
And her.
it's just going to be the density of it, really, isn't it? It's
Especially
not
as it's all
necessarily
wrapped
the
up as
weight.
well.
I was going to say that thing. She could probably. I mean, it'd hurt like fuck, but she could probably fucking tow a car with it. Wrap it round the front
Probably
bumper.
break someone's kneecaps if she used it as a baseball bat. It's long enough.
Yeah, this is it. But how is it not been classed as a weapon? I mean, I can only assume it's because it is attached to her.
I mean,
But I've often thought this is she often resorts to using it as a weapon. Which, do you know what? I'd probably do exactly the same in her position.
if
but
she can use it as a weapon, it should be classed as a weapon. So therefore, she shouldn't be able to get away with it. But then I suppose that works a little bit with a gimmick. It's a little bit of a... It's the same as having a low blow, I suppose. Hair whip will hurt, will take your eye off the game for a second, especially if you get whipped with that thing.
Yeah, difference is that low blows are normally done where the ref can't see them.
Yeah.
Belair doesn't give a shit who sees it if it fucking whips somebody with that hair. But yeah, digressing from that, we had a small showing from Candice LeRae running interference outside, but really
she
ignorable.
pulled the hair of Bianca Belair, didn't she? Just to kind of
Sort of
put her off, really, wasn't it?
Well, it was Candice LeRae that held the hair. Bianca Belair yanks it back and ends up smacking Naomi in the stomach for it, but ended up Bayley getting the win.
Yeah.
So Bayley is #1 contender for the Women's World Championship, which
is next week.
I mean, yeah.
So we don't have to wait too long for that.
No, it's we're getting the action thick and fast. Then we go into a promo with
Cody and Jimmy Uso.
Cody Rhodes, Jimmy Uso, just sort of reaffirming before the main event, which it is what it is.
For Cody to leave and Carmelo Hayes to come in talking his normal useless crap.
Yeah, and Jimmy Uso basically putting him in his place, ending it with a yeet.
Oh, that is so over right now. It's unreal.
Oh, 100%.
Like the fact that at the end of house shows, you see him and he's stood in the middle and he's got like a couple of people and they're all doing it and the entire stadium is just moving. It's brilliant.
Let's face it, it's always the simple bits. I mean, Daniel Bryan with the yes movement.
Yeah.
And most of them are accidental. I mean, a yeet is not an accidental thing. That is 100% intentional. But
oh yeah, that was intended and it worked. It worked. But sometimes accidental is the best. I mean, look at the people's elbow. That was just The Rock trying to get someone to break character and he's been using it for 20 odd years since, so it works.
Yeah. But next up on the card was a promo basically discussing something we've already said, which was Bayley's title shot coming up on next week's SmackDown.
And the fact that Tiffy's never beaten Bayley, which suggests we could either have an upset or a title change again. I don't think they'll take it off her too soon, though. It seems a bit of a waste of a cash-in to let her have it for 2 weeks and then take it off her.
in fairness, let's look at Kofi Kingston's WWE Championship reign. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I forget his name.
What,
Bloke
the
who was
person
in
who...
the who was in the Rumble for precisely about 3 seconds.
Or wasn't it Santino Morelli?
Santino Morella. Why did I kept wanting to say Alberto Del Rio, but it's not.
No, yeah, he came running down, didn't he? Went through the rope and someone clotheslined him. Was it Kane that clotheslined him? Like 3 seconds
Kane
later.
basically took him straight out, and
Yeah.
he's
Off you
out on the
fuck.
outside of the ring, going, "I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready." Oh, what
With-
comedic value!
With
Santino
there only
Marella
being
actually
3 weeks left to the Royal Rumble, I wonder how Kofi will escape elimination this year. That's the one thing that happens every year. You get a
It has
Kofi
become
one.
a yearly tradition.
It has.
Kofi has never won. To my knowledge, Kofi has never won the Royal Rumble, but he always features in it because he always comes up with a rather interesting way of being able to save himself from elimination.
My favourite one was him bunny hopping the chair.
Pogo hop in the chair. We've seen him parkouring across the
Barriers.
against the guardrail. We've seen him
Handstand
hop.
walking.
We've seen him hop on one leg, handstand walking.
Didn't Big E catch him the one year as well?
Yeah, doesn't have that option there anymore. But
Nope.
then we got to the main event of the evening, the tag team match made earlier in the night between Cody Rhodes and Jimmy Uso
With Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu.
100%.
It was interesting to see Fatu cut like a slight promo as they came out of the locker room before they went on to talk a little bit more about the Royal Rumble with their next sort of production credits and the fact that we've only got 22 days left until the Royal Rumble. So
yeah, this is true.
Can't wait.
It helped build sort of Fatu's character a little bit, which means that they may be looking at separating him from the bloodline a little bit.
Or maybe just popping them as a tag team themselves, just Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. They seem reasonably strong as a duo.
Are.
And they've wrestled as a duo before together, haven't they? So
as a duo, they work really well together. It's
Tama Tonga's quirky.
That is one way. That is sort of one way of putting it, I suppose. But yeah, what are we saying about the main event? What were your takeaways from it?
I didn't make many notes for the main event because I got too engrossed in watching it. I actually really enjoyed it. It was nice for me personally to finally get an opportunity to watch Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu wrestle properly. For me, that was the first. I've only really seen clips for the last sort of couple of months, rather than having access to the network and YouTube and stuff like that. So I've not really been able to watch a lot of it. Mainly been through social media. So it's the first full match of theirs that I've got to watch, and I did really enjoy it. I will say though that I was a little bit miffed by having Kevin Owens out again. Kevin Owens this episode of SmackDown felt a little bit like Ava did on NXT this week. Every time you saw Cody, you saw Kevin, and I think it might start to ruin the story eventually if they keep pushing it as hard as they are with him being attached at the hip with them. But we've only got a couple of weeks left to wait until they fight it out for that championship. So
yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think it took away some valuable sort of prove yourself time to Tonga and Fatu. I mean, Jimmy Uso and Cody Rhodes, they're established. We know what to expect when they're
Jimmy Uso's one half of the most decorated tag team of all time, isn't it? I'm pretty sure they are now. So it's one of those, like, he's definitely established. Cody Rhodes wouldn't be wearing the strap he is if he wasn't. You know, and he's had some brilliant feuds with Roman over the last few years, building his character and building Roman's at the same time. So yeah, this is definitely for Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu, and the fact they went over was nice in a way, but probably not the best way to do it.
I would have liked to have seen them wrestle to a finish with Rhodes and Jimmy Uso. rather than it felt repetitive. Having Kevin Owens come out again,
The
Cody Rhodes run off to
distraction
face him, and
again.
then Jimmy Uso just left to fend for himself. I did feel for Jimmy. I'm not going to lie. I feel like that
Fatu's an
may.
animal, but
They
I
don't
loved
call
it.
him the Samoan. They don't call him the Samoan werewolf for no reason. Let's face it.
No, absolutely loved
But
it. It was a great match.
but overall, SmackDown, first one I've watched in a very long time, and I feel like you were very much the same. Um, any overall thoughts?
If I was to put it into a comparison between the other two weekly shows this week, SmackDown's probably the second out of the three. I think Raw was the best one this week. SmackDown was definitely in the middle there. NXT was by hands down the worst programming this week.
Yeah,
I really struggled with NXT. I know it's because I don't know a lot of the storylines, and we're starting something a bit different. But hopefully in a few weeks I've picked up a bit more on it. But this week, no, NXT was definitely the weakest program.
yeah, and it wasn't. I don't think. Yeah, I'm in the same position as you. I'd rank them exactly the same way. One thing I did pick up on, and I'm not sure if this is introduced in the Netflix era. Did you notice the change in the ref uniforms for each? It wasn't a different uniform for each show, but I actually quite enjoyed the black and grey. It was quite a nice sort of change.
I didn't notice it, but I am definitely something we're going to look at when we get round to watching the next episode of Monday Night Raw.
I mean, it's an odd thing to notice, I know, and it's not the biggest detail in the world, but it was one thing that really stuck out to me, especially when I watched Raw. I was like, oh, they've given the ref some new shirts. They're looking sharp. And then when it was the same throughout. I like the continuity.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can get that. Well, I think
But yeah, I think that's just about wraps up this week's episode.
it does.
And yeah, what an episode it's been! What an episode it's been, mate. We've had some fantastic fun making it. Hopefully, you've enjoyed watching it, and yeah, we've got comment sections for a reason, guys. Get in touch. Let us know. See if you know something we don't. If you've spotted something we haven't.
We've
If
missed something, let us know. Or if there's something
100%.
that you're really looking forward to that you know is coming up in the next couple of weeks, whether it be Bailey versus Tiffany Stratton for the title or the number one contender for the tag team match that's coming up next week, there's going to be, let us know in the comment section. We'll find out.
Yeah,
Right.
this is it. So
We've been
yeah,
Finishers and Factions, your place to catch all the action, and we will see you next week.